Hey, safety man. How you doing? Don Davo from Down Under. Hello. Good morning. Looks like we're getting some people in here. That's awesome. I just been seeing some stuff online. I watched the Caitlin Bennett video here. Gives me mixed emotions. Calling out people in the riots and looting and all that other stuff. Hey, Aussie, Michigan Woodsman. You know, I don't know if anybody likes how these people are burning down the town, smashing up businesses and looting, but I definitely don't like it myself. But people got to understand what these people are thinking and what's going on. And the problem I see, and I believe there's going to be a lot of people that can understand what I'm saying. We've been watching this country go to shit for a long time. We've been watching the law enforcement get more and more aggressive and do more and more things that we feel they shouldn't be allowed to do. They shouldn't be doing. They get away with a whole lot of shit. And these people had enough of it. We had enough of it. And, too many times do police officers kill somebody or commit a crime, and, they're treated as upper class citizens, as somebody else that's different. Well, Robbie, I do. I get that, but that's the point I'm trying to get to. When you're suppressed or you feel suppressed for so many years, and I get that. I think it's more of, they need a better. Some people need a better upbringing, and it's just not just blacks. I mean, these people, law enforcement takes advantage of anybody that doesn't have money. No, I get you, Robbie. I get you. I don't like the looting and the burning and all the bullshit either. The criminal activity definitely. It's definitely not the way. It's not something that I would do. But they're shooting kids. They're shooting people. They're killing people. They're, the cops are murdering people at an alarming rate right now. I think we're over 400 already this year, and police homicides against the public. George's just took a turn that showed. I think it was more emotional, and I think it got people's attention more of just how it happened and what all went on. But it's like all of us. You try to get these cops' attention. You try to show them on video to other people as to what's going on. try to wake society up that we need change in this country, especially within the law enforcement, within government. And these guys go out here and they protest. If you notice, it started out very peacefully. Wasn't that bad. Then all of a sudden they started shooting at them with tear gas and paintballs and, flash cannons and the whole 9 yards. So then it got violent. I mean, what do you expect it to do? And here's a guy that, an officer took his life in plain view, right on camera.
Over $20.
Over what supposedly was a fake $20 bill. They tell him that he was resisting. Cameras show that he's not resisting. Cut the plastic, I could imagine, buddy.
How's he doing?
He says, "Duck, I'm sore."
Yeah.
Ain't no doubt. You went through a lot. I was on there. We were on there all night last night with you. But it's the suppression of the lower class citizens. What they call lower class citizens. Every citizen's a citizen. It's, we got to, the government puts everybody in classes like essential workers and non-essential workers. What the fuck is it, man? You're non-essential? Get the hell out of here. I mean, and it's these feelings that people get upset about. But back what I was talking about, the cops, if it was you, any one of you out here, if it was I, and we'd have done that to someone like George on video, when they got a hold of us, we'd have been in handcuffs and in jail. Police officers don't get that same treatment. They get put on administrative leave. They get paid. Investigation entails most of the time through the same police department, and it goes on for months. I just heard a video where an officer told Johnny 5-0 that it takes 3 to 4 months, maybe longer, and we all know that. And then they usually find in favor of the officer. Now you got to understand, these people in Minneapolis know this and know it all too well. The officer involved has a pretty good rap sheet, from what I understand. So yeah, it's disturbing, and you got to think all these people. Getting suppressed by the police in Minneapolis. They murder one of their own. Hello, 702. And they don't arrest the cop. They fire him, which, big deal. Well, Ben, it's not about the TVs. I mean, I get that. And there's some people out there that, maybe that's all they wanted to do is steal a TV. But, when you go out in the streets and you protest, and they start restricting your movements and pushing you away and trying to get your ass off the streets with tear gas and rubber bullets,
Shit hurts.
And all the shit that they do. It's gonna promote aggressiveness, especially when they know that they ain't getting justice. That word justice is a strong word. Well, Robbie, it's the same thing. There's no justice. There's the girl in Louisiana that they protested yesterday because they You know, they shot her 2 weeks ago. No justice yet. You know, just think about it, especially if you're a minority and there's no justice for someone killing one of your own, a law enforcement officer. What are you going to do? You're going to build resentment. You're going to build hate. You're going to build all kinds of things. And I'm not trying to excuse the looting and the stealing and all that stuff. I'm just trying to understand it, I guess. And you know, when you think about it certain ways, it sort of makes sense.
Sometimes it does, I think, buddy. And
Yeah.
good morning.
Morning. How you doing? How you feeling?
Oh, man. You know, last night it got to the point where I saw it was getting ridiculous, in my opinion, right? It wasn't organized protests. It wasn't shutting down traffic. It was rocks, man. It was rocks flying. It was rocks versus tear gas and pepper balls and flashbangs and large uses of force. It was 16, 17, 18-year-old girls with signs with tears about the world that they are coming into. And the use of force last night was is astounding. It's astounding how many pepper balls they shot, you know, how many flashbangs. And you know, in Denver, we've been broadcasting the lives lost and taken for quite a while now, and that's why you know, Eric Grant's at that Jefferson County jail, and Aloa was her last name, and she died in police custody. Right? They have babies in the jail cells. Your friend and mine now too. Porter Farmer talks about you know, if he did a video on 1 cop a day, you know, and it's tough. Let me tell you why. Because somebody I love, my brother-in-law, he's struggling with this issue, right?
Yeah.
So it's gonna get noisy here because I'm at the train station. And the highways here, it's tough because there's a line in the same, and the line is their life, right? Like that's a line in the sand that you just like you can keep. Having her mother, Lynn Eaglefeather, was out last night stopping traffic early in my stream, early from when I got there, and I got there 2 hours late, right? And I don't know how many mothers whose sons were taken wrongfully. Paul Castaway's last words were, "What's wrong with you guys?" Right?
Yeah.
Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. That is my train. Okay. It's going to get quiet. Woo, perfect timing. So from I can't breathe, what's wrong with you guys, to check his pulse. Our society has said, like, need to be better humans.
You know, I mean, everybody's upset about the looting and that. And like I said, I don't condone the looting and the burning of the buildings and businesses and all that other shit. I think it's wrong. There's no doubt about it. But how can we do better that doesn't happen? I think where things need to lie.
Think if they had arrested the cops, they had arrested the cops right away, right, within the first 24 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
This is Friday morning, so Thursday night. I did my live stream Tuesday morning. It occurred Sunday, right? I was one of the first in the auditing community to do a broadcast on this incident. So when you look at the time it's taken to have a response, Denver might not have had a response like this, right?
Yeah.
They might have had a different response in other cities. But for the fact that the officer to my understanding, is still, at home with his family.
Well, from what I
And,
see here in the chat, someone just says that this guy may be in Orlando.
He might be on what?
He may have come to Orlando, Florida, and they say getting Florida mixed up in this shit is beyond belief.
Yeah, usually, people do get away from their hometown, right? They get away from their settings, their safety zone of knownness. When something like this happens, they got to get away. Doesn't matter if you're, tragically killed your kids and flew off to Hawaii, or you were hiding the dead body and moving to Brazil or whatever. Right? You don't stay in your own neighborhood during times like this because people find out where you live.
Yeah.
And those officers, they were doxxed way early.
Yeah.
Way early. So that's something. That's absolutely something.
Yeah. But it's I understand we're never going to stop the thieves and the looters and all the people that do the shit that they do. But I think we can curtail a majority of it if law enforcement would be, if the government would wake up and listen and see what's going on and change the way law enforcement reacts and the things that happen. We talk about qualified immunity a lot. We talk about unions. We talk about them and insuring themselves. And, you're right, Brian. If they would have arrested this cat early on, I don't think we'd be standing here talking about this or sitting here talking about this right now. I think it would have been over. And
yeah,
a lot of things in this country would solve that, would solve itself that way if law enforcement wasn't so much higher than the citizens. And when you got citizens that's being suppressed, and then you got the law enforcement that thinks they're the king of the hill, and they come together, you're going to get this this madness. They're bringing National Guard in, and they even.
Oh, come on! I mean, that's really what it is, though, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, I feel special because I have a 1-year potential jail sentence hanging over me as the first person in the state of Colorado known to be arrested for filming a police officer in the lobby of a police department. Of course I feel special. Am I alone? No. Right? Every day, people deal with 12,000 times worse than mine. Right?
Yeah.
And when you have an accident or an illness and you become unhoused, right? When there's a skip in the cycle, you really see how the bad ones behave.
Yeah.
Because the bad ones will absolutely expose themselves. They're the ones who are sitting outside, people trying to sleep in a tent at 2:00 in the morning, crawling up with no lights on, and then blasting themselves, right, waking everybody up. They're the ones that that come by every half hour to keep people from being able to get a good night's sleep so they can go to their jobs the next day. These minor abuses, these minor actions are accumulative in their impact. And so the reality is that I'm gonna move back a little bit here. Be respectful of my fellow bus riders and train riders. Is that there's a lot of people who are angry, and there's opportunists, right? There's always going to be somebody who says, let's break a police car, right? And I was there for that last night in Denver. I saw it happen. They broke windows of our state capitol, right? Because the system is tired. The people watch it, and there's no difference what goes on, whether you're red or blue, green, whether you're environmental or whatever. The cogs of the system, they're not shutting down and like being replaced, right? It just keeps going. And so a lot of people were frustrated last night, and they were just going back and forth in Denver. I'm sure in other cities it was the same, because we've been going back and forth for way too long.
That's it. I mean, it seems like the government is making themselves in this little wee tight niche that the citizens are getting less and less of a voice. No, we're fine. The citizens get less and less of a voice, and the more frustrated the citizens get because the government seems like they're strangling us to death. And the change is becoming more, it's becoming more communism. Yes.
I cannot hear a word anybody is saying.
You can't?
If there are even words being said.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Yep. But anyway, thanks a lot, Brian, for coming. If you can get back on, that'd be great. But the issue is hitting the police department, that didn't bother me as bad, but to take out people's businesses that's sad. And as much as we want to blame those that did it, it's also the government's issue. Wake up, start utilizing what we, the citizens, want to see happen. Stop investigating your officers. If you see, this officer playing out, just kill this guy, arrest him, throw him in jail. Treat them people just like they treat us. No different then. And this rioting and this burning businesses and stealing things is just as much a government issue as it is anybody else. Now they want to bring in the National Guard. They even said, well, if the National Guard don't work, they'll bring in the military. Do you think that that's going to stop the rioting? I don't. I think it's going to break out worse than it's ever has. The more and more that they do this, the worse and worse it gets. Just watch, the second day of Minneapolis. The worse that the cops got on them, the worse they did. And, it's just anger. It's just anger, and that's how they take it out on it. Now, the thieves and all that stuff is a little bit, but yeah, it's civil unrest. It's going to get worse. I think it's going to get worse. You got the case in Louisiana where they killed that girl and haven't done nothing, haven't said a word. Good morning, Janet. Yes, free the Brant. Can't wait till I hear that word, Janet. He's free. But, everybody just needs to go out and make a difference in life and, and talk to everybody that you can within the government and try to get them to understand that we want change, especially within the law enforcement community. It's ridiculous. And the more that they suppress these people, the worse it's going to get. That's where it's all coming from. Yeah, Telmaster. Most people don't know that. You have to have a riding clause, a terrorist clause in your insurance to be covered. Even though most of those businesses were big corporations that probably have that, any of those small businesses that get that more than likely don't. So, they just not only took their business and their livelihood, but, they probably took their livelihood. Good chance they won't be back in business again. But it is sad, but there's also, you got to look at it a couple different ways, and that's what I'm trying to do. I don't think that the majority of them that's stealing is, has George in mind. But, smashing windows and throwing rocks at cops and all that other stuff, it's because they're angry. They're angry at the law enforcement officers. They're angry at their local government because these guys are still they're still free. Yeah, they lost their jobs, but they probably won't lose their pensions. They probably will still maintain. But George won't. And cut the plastic. I don't think this is going to stop until someone's arrested. I mean, they want justice, and do we blame them? I mean, we all seen the video. We've seen what went on, and it's ugly. It still affects me thinking about it. I've seen a lot of videos of body cam videos of cops shooting people and things happening, but the video of George just sticks in my head. It makes me angry. Not angry enough to go, set fires and loot and steal things, but it makes me angry. Well, I mean, it is Michigan woodsman. There's no doubt. But I still think the majority of those people are so angry that they feel like they're never, ever going to get justice. So this is their justice. And I know a lot of black people. I've had conversations of this with a lot of people. And that's how those poor people feel. Tammy, I get that. And, but yet the police officers escalate the issue. They should have left them be. Yeah, Janet. I want mine. Well, hell, the only thing I do is watch YouTube once in a while. But, it's just sad. It's sad that we have to live like this. Just trying to figure out what can be done to balance the act. Law enforcement has to change. I think that's our biggest issue. That's our biggest problem. It has been for a long, long time. Order to change law enforcement, prosecutors and district attorneys and all of them have to change. They got to stop investigating themselves. That's just, that's all a bunch of shit. It's nasty. It's criminal. That's it. Free all political prisoners. Anybody that has that's in jail without a victim shouldn't be in jail. Well, there's no doubt that the whole government establishment is wrong. But it's affecting it. They bring all their bullshit down to the law enforcement of the citizens, and they escalate this stuff. They escalate it to where this is what we got. I mean, what are you going to do? But yeah, it's the police unions. The police unions are some of the most powerful unions in the country. And they didn't get that way by sitting back and letting the government agencies destroy the people that pay them. Well, 10, you got that. Well, in essence, Michigan, yes, they do fund it. They fund it through the dues and all that stuff that the police pay, all the bullshit that they collect from every member of the union. And of course, them funds come through the taxpayers. Essentially, yes. Django, I'm not sure if there is or not. B squared. But yeah, I mean that's the thing is the cops come out and they push them around and want to take their right away, their right to protest away. It pisses them off, so they start going back at them. And before you know it, they're so mad they start smashing windows and doing things they shouldn't do. And just leave them go. Let them protest. Arrest an officer that kills somebody. That would solve a problem. I just don't agree with putting all the blame on the people that's riding. Too many people is coming out there and talking about how much they are 100% wrong, and the focus is going towards what they're doing, and it's going to eliminate all this shit. But we need to turn it around and try to make people believe that or not make people believe. Allow people to believe. Show people what it is. It's law enforcement. It's the government. And everybody's supposed to have equal rights. Did George have equal rights? Hell no. His rights was taken away from him in about 9 minutes. He had none. Well, I can tell you, cut the plastic. I think that's what would have solved the problem if they'd have found him. I think that's exactly what would happen. Morning, Missy Miss. People don't get how these people don't get how these people feel. Well, I get that, Telmaster. No, they can't really, but I think that's what would happen if they got a hold of them, though. Do I think that's what needs to be done? No. He needs to be tried. Just like everybody else needs to be tried when they commit a crime. But I think the protesters would have. There isn't no doubt about it. I'm surprised he didn't get to his house somehow. They finally got to a police station, so I'm not sure how they're. And but it's just sad. It's sad. That's that's my issue is trying to understand what's going on. So this cop worked at the same club as George Floyd as security. He knew him. Interesting. That makes it even an interesting twist if it's true. So what? Was he pissed off at him? Did he do something? Yeah, I know they've been trying to get to it. They got, just funny how they got to the precinct. But, I have a feeling if this doesn't solve itself, they will get to his house one way or another. There ain't no doubt. I'm not against public hangings. I'm not against the death penalty. As long as you're tried and you're done, as long as it's a nasty crime and the punishment fits, that's fine. But, the majority of crime anymore is victimless, and they throw you in jail just to collect the money. Well, I'm sure more will come out, Tin Lizzie. There's no doubt. There's if they work together, there's no doubt something was going wrong, because it didn't appear as if he was angry when they got to him. Well, it's the courts is one thing. It's law enforcement letting the guy live outside of a jail cell after he blatantly kills somebody. While if it was you or I, we would be sitting in jail right now. They'd have put handcuffs on us. They wouldn't even allow us. They wouldn't even allow us to kill the guy like that if they were standing there. But we would have went to jail immediately. And this is the problem. They do it often. Police officers can do a lot of things and walk away. Port Art Farmer, his stories will tell the truth. They get by with so many things, especially probably the most ultimate crime to me. And I think it goes even above murder. And that's when you rape and molest children. They'll molest a child. They'll rape a child and get 6 months probation. Oh yeah, qualified immunity is a thing that needs to go away. No, it's not easy to do. We do have the ability to arrest an officer, but nobody will. Wouldn't happen. Technically, the only power an officer has above a citizen is the ability to take their bonded to transport you to jail. We're not, so we can't transport prisoners, but we can definitely arrest an officer. But I like to see someone try it. I doubt it works. And well, that's the problem is, not enough people are out here talking to these politicians, engaging in the politicians. The politicians, I shouldn't say that. The politicians are not listening to the people. And they're just doing what they think is right for them. They don't care what the general population wants. Or if they do, it's only those that go to church. It's only those that do certain things. The hell with everybody, especially the middle and lower class. They don't care about them. Yeah, it was interesting, but I guess that's the only thing that they feel like they could do through the union was fire them. The union holds the card. Yeah, it would be interesting, Tin Lizzie, to actually see everything here as far as how it pans out and all the connections and the things that goes on. But I think the first and foremost thing we need them arrested. They need to be in jail. It could solve it down. The investigation needs to stay within the FBI. Law enforcement needs major reform. I think that itself will solve a lot of problems in this country, is if law enforcement becomes for the people instead of against the people again. the more we as citizens feel like that they're against us, the more rioting, the more looting, the more stealing, the more violence, the more everything you're going to see. It's that simple. You know, I don't care what it is. You restrict their movement. You restrict the things that they can do. You restrict the things that, you know, you treat them different than the neighbor or somebody else. They're going to get angry and angry and angry, and over time they're going to lash out, and they're going to do things we don't like. And you know, when they act out, they're going to do this kind of shit. They're going to burn people's businesses. They're going to steal people's stuff. They're going to do whatever they can. Yes, it's wrong, but not to them it is, because they've been suppressed for so many years. A lot of us capable of sitting here talking online and do the things we do are a little more fortunate than some. And we haven't experienced the life they have, so it's easy for us to talk about them and say how wrong they are. Yeah, you know, and Tammy, I do know a few that's respectful. No, Tin Lizzie, no, I haven't. Last video I've seen of Johnny is the one with him saying he has cancer. That's a sad day. I wish him well. I hope things turn out great for him. We all need to just support him and wish him well. But I haven't seen anything other than that, and you know, it's a heartbreaking situation. Johnny's back. He's one of the first ones ever seen in this movement, and I respect him a lot. But it's just who's not suppressed? Inner city blacks, inner city poor people, homeless. Have you ever been down in those parts? Have you ever talked to any of them people? I know many of people that live that way, that has escaped that route, and some that still live in that situation. And you know, people want to say that it's you know, people want to talk racist and all that other horse shit. I don't like to talk that way, because you know, I think the only people racist is the government. The government has the ability to change that. They could have changed everybody's minds many, many years ago, but they don't. Why do we need a race question on any application or any form that you fill out? So it matters what race we are in order to get a job, a loan. It's not supposed to, but why is the question there? You know, the inner city blacks, at least the ones around here, you know, they get suppressed. They're not allowed to this. People won't give them that. They won't. You know, they're battered. They're made to live a life of being poor. Even ones that try to do what they do, they get looked upon and discriminated against. And you know, and I mean, this is why we see what's going on now. You know, it's as much as it's a terrible thing, I guess when you're homeless, I don't know what you got to do, but you know, I guess Cut the Plastic had some guy in a wheelchair with his thing in his hand too last night, so must be a common thing within the homeless. But I know I don't want to see it. I wouldn't want to see it, but you got to do what you got to do, and it's just a shitty time in history, and hopefully it plays out a whole lot better than it seems like it's going to. I think it's going to get worse than it before it gets better. And I think I'm going to jump off of here. Just everybody, contact any form of government you can, and leave them know that we need law enforcement needs reformed. There's no doubt. The only way we're going to get it done is start at the bottom of the government and push and persuade them to get together and make changes. Because without those, some people call it revolution, some people call it civil war, but we're facing one here soon. And it's from acts like this. This is going to cause it, if it hasn't already. But until next time, folks, take it easy, and thank you all for stopping by, and I really appreciate you listening to me ramble. Take care.